confirm that you hear me. Do you hear me well, everyone?
Yes, very well.
Do you hear me better now? Is it good?
Yes, of course.
Yes, you hear me well. Thank you for confirmation. So, dear ladies and gentlemen, dear friends and partners, it's a great honor for me to be here with you in sunny and extremely warmly welcoming Fergana. So welcome everyone here on place in Fergana. Welcome everyone who is joining us remotely from Uzbekistan, from Georgia, Poland, Lebanon, Moldova, Kyrgyzstan, and Tajikistan, and especially from Ukraine, who in this challenging time found the strength to participate and to organize scientific conference named International Scientific Conference, Information Technologies and Management in Higher Education and Sciences, hosted here in Fergana in the year 2022. My name is Yulia Mironova, and I'm director of the program in ISMA of Business Administration in Tourism. So ISMA's strategic vision and continuous development makes it possible to offer competitive education based on theoretical knowledge and many years of practical experience, ensuring a professional career for our graduates in the Latvian and European labor markets. During almost 30 years, we are establishing rich traditions and powerful international relations. And this year, ISMA official international branch here in Fergana is celebrating its 3rd anniversary by holding this very first international scientific conference. So, first of all, we would like to express our gratitude to participation to our honored guest, Faizullah Kasimov, Deputy Governor of Fergana Region for Youth Policy and Social Development. Khurshid Akhmedov, Deputy Governor of Fergana Region for Issues of Tourism, Sports, Cultural Heritage, and Mass Communication, Head of the Main Department of Tourism and Cultural Heritage of the region in Uzbekistan, Fergana. Fozilion Otakulov, Vice Rector of Fergana State University in Uzbekistan. Yamoldin Kambarov, Vice Rector of the Fergana Polytechnic Institute. Ahmed Raimov, Rector of Karakalpakstan State University, joined us remotely. Halovka Oleg, Founder and Director of the publishing house Helvetica, joined us from Odessa, Ukraine. Rinsky Andrzej, Rector of Colonia University of Częstochowa, Republic of Poland. Paskor Valery, Rector of the Institute of Criminal Law and Applied Criminology, Chisinau, Republic of Moldova. Sapilnik Lyubomir, Lviv University of Business and Law, Lviv, Ukraine. Romavenko Konstantin, Honored Lawyer of Ukraine, Rector of International Humanitarian University, Odessa, Ukraine. Chekin Rostislav, Honored Worker of Physical Culture and Sports, President of Interregional Academy of Personnel Management, Kyiv, Ukraine. Vikly Aliyev Mikhailo, Director of Center for Ukrainian-European Scientific Cooperation, Uzhgorod, Ukraine. And now, it's my honor to welcome for the opening speech, Rector of ISMA University Fergana Branch, Hamzahужа Abdurahmon.
Assalamu alaikum. Good afternoon, dear conference participants. I'd like to welcome you all and thank everyone for coming. I know you are all very busy, and it's difficult to take time away from your daily tasks for this meeting. I'm happy to see you at this scientific and practical conference. This conference is organized by ISMA University by cooperating with Polonia University of Częstochowa, Institute of Criminal Law and Applied Criminology, Lwów University of Business and Law, International Humanitarian University, Interregional Academy of Personnel Management, Publishing House Helvetica, Center for Ukrainian-European Scientific Cooperation, Fergana Regional Government, Fergana Regional Tourism Department, Fergana State University, Fergana Polytechnic Institute, Kalpak State University, and many other universities. ISMA University Fergana branch has significant input on development of education and also providing high quality professionals for business, tourism, and IT companies. Our university is established in 2018 by the initiative of the President of the Republic of Uzbekistan, is becoming one of the largest international universities, not only in the region, but also in our country. And our university plays an important role in the preparing of highly qualified specialists for the tourism, business administration, and information technology. This creates a solid foundation for the large-scale renewal and creation of the new Uzbekistan. Foundation of Sydney, which is a country with the leadership of the President and the section of the information technology and management in higher education science. This conference as symbolic in this conference serves to bring the result of research conducted in the field of to the international level to further strengthen the relation of professors research with their colleagues in of international publication, but all projects. I'd like to express my gratitude to all the participants of the conference and you, the guests who showed interest in the event by taking the time to cooperate. I sincerely wish you only success. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Director, for your speech. And next one, with an opening speech will be Olovka Oleg. Oleg, are you here? No. So probably some technical issues. We will wait for Oleg a little. And next one in my list is Bujor Valery, Doctor of Law, Professor, Rector of the Institute of Criminal Law and Applied Criminology, Chisinau, Republic of Moldova. Are you here?
Bună ziua și Doamne ajută lucrărilor conferinței.
Da.
Da.
Da. От имени молдавских друзей приветствую организаторов и участников сегодняшнего научного форума. Уважаемые коллеги, присутствующие на конференции прекрасно понимают, что процветание и благосостояние любого народа напрямую зависит от состояния образования и науки. Все мы осознаем, что именно по научным достижениям и в первую очередь по фундаментальным наукам определяется настоящая ценность того или иного народа на Земле. Знаем мы с вами, что без научного обеспечения любая практическая деятельность изначально обречена на неудачу. Конечно, проблемы развития образования и науки – это вопрос и политический. Отношение к этим составляющим национальной безопасности, образования и наука, как по географии, так по историческим параметрам отличаются порой кардинально. Естественно, что все мы, представители разных вузов и разных стран, находимся в разных условиях образовательного и научного процесса. Однако, несмотря на государственную политику в области образования и науки, вузы и научные центры в силу своей относительной автономии могут и обязаны выполнить свою социальную миссию. Готовить высококлассных специалистов с твердой гражданской и, конечно, все мы, я бы сказал, обречены бороться за то, чтобы не дать гаснуть пламени науки. А для того, чтобы эту миссию выполнить, нужно непрерывно совершенствовать управление, а также внедрять новые и новые технологии в высшем образовании и науке. Уверен, что наш сегодняшний столь представительный форум, который вы организовали, станет прекрасной возможностью обменяться опытом и знаниями, которые послужат на благо нашим народам. Наилучшие поздравления и факультету. Успехов, дорогие коллеги, в нашей нелегкой и благородной деятельности. Здоровья и, самое главное, мир вашему дому. Спасибо за сотрудничество. Ламулся. Thank you.
Олег Головко на зв'язку.
Так, да, я уже на связи. Слышно, да?
Слышно вас.
Слышно. Доброе утро, добрый день. Рад вас поприветствовать. Меня зовут Олег Головко. Я с вами связываюсь из города Одессы. К сожалению, у нас не во всем городе есть электричество, поэтому, как видите, звоню вам прямо с заправки. Единственное место, где есть Wi-Fi или электричество. Но это не помешает мне все равно увидеть вас, поприветствовать, сказать пару слов. В первую очередь хотел бы поприветствовать всех участников со всех стран, которые собрались на данную конференцию. И, конечно же, вы об этом еще скажете, поздравить с 5-летием филиала ISMA University в Узбекистане, потому что данный университет является тем мостиком, который связывает не только нашу страну со странами Европы, но и с Италией и Узбекистан. Мне крайне приятно осознавать, что эта конференция проходит именно в Узбекистане. Я сам был один раз в Узбекистане. Не посчастливилось все еще быть в Фергане. Был в столице вашего государства и в исторической, культурной столице Самарканде. Но я думаю, что будет еще возможность поприветствовать вас. Хотел сказать, что мы со своей стороны, со стороны издательского дома «Гельветика», приложили максимум усилий, чтобы результаты ваших научных исследований данного форума, данной конференции были представлены наилучшим образом, как можно шире будут распространены и опубликованы в изданиях с наивысшим рейтингом. Поэтому приветствую всех участников. Вам отличной работы, продуктивной коммуникации, новых знакомств и новых свершений. Привет всем еще раз.
Большое спасибо, Олег, за вашу речь. Спасибо, что нашли возможность подключиться в такое непростое время. And the next speaker is Sergey Karpaty, Doctor of Economics, Professor, First Vice Director of Interregional Academy of Personal Management from Kyiv, Ukraine. Sergey, are you here?
Сергей отсутствует, так как в Киеве также пропал связь, по-моему, связь невозможно ему выступить. Приносим свои извинения от имени украинской стороны за отсутствие
Конечно,
Сергея.
мы все понимаем. So, it's our time to start our plenary session. And as the first speaker, I would like to invite Associate Professor, Vice Rector for Academic Affairs in ISMA University of Applied Sciences, and Economic Doctor Evgenia Dechtyere, with a topic with a presentation about the modern approaches in education of 21st century. Evgenia, you're welcome.
Hello, everyone. First of all, of course, we would like to thank Ukrainian organizers for great efforts that you are applying even still these uncertain times, even still during the period of invasion. Thank you. Even staying on the Gazelle station, you are trying to proceed to do your best. And we would like to express all our support. And also, we are very grateful for our Uzbekistan branch for holding this conference, for making this process. 1 second, I will try to share the screen. 1 second, please. Please confirm if you see my screen share.
Yeah, everything is in.
Excellent. So now everything is fine, and we can start. The topic is actual today. So it is about modern approaches in the 21st century. And I would like to show you my next slide. Have you seen this acronym BANI before? So even if you've never seen this acronym before, I want to assure you that we are currently living in a BANI world. So what it is BANI? BANI is an acronym to describe the existing reality. Everything is very brittle or fragile right now. We cannot foresee any upcoming circumstance. That's why we all are anxious, concerned, sometimes even depressed. And everything is unclear or incomprehensible. And all processes that are currently taking time are non-linear. That means that small decisions may lead to a greater impact. Changes may lead to huge changes with specific time delays. Incomprehensible. We cannot grasp the cause because it is long gone. However, how to survive in a BANI world? If something is brittle, we have to require capacity and resilience. If we feel anxious, we need empathy and mindfulness. If something is non-linear, it calls for understanding of context and adaptability. If something is incomprehensible, it demands transparency and intuition. Only when we fully realize that we are living in the bunny world, and unfortunately we have to survive in certain circumstances, we have first to adapt that and then to move forward. And when we are moving forward, we have to take into attention prognosis of futurologists, what they are saying about future development of technologies at large and application of these technologies that may touch the field of education as well. One of the most famous scientists, futurologist Michio Kaku, is stating that learning will not longer be based on optimization. The future knowledge will be obtained by requesting virtual information walls. According to that, there will be lack of need to remember large volume of information, and that would lead to a vacant mental reserve to be reoriented toward development, the ability to think, analyze, and make ultimately right decisions. Accordingly, the process of education, also including higher education, should be seriously rethinked. After COVID-19 pandemic, we have adopted remote education, and this process continues. Educational process went online, study process become often virtual and split or hybrid. Technological processes develop fastly. Classical four-year bachelor program content becomes sometimes obsolete, especially within IT field. It is obsolete before a student may graduate. Short cycles becomes more required. A request to construct own educational pathway to study individually in own mode, to get more practical education confirmed by certificates. These are current market demands. All mentioned statements lead to following conclusion. Higher education must seriously rethink existing approach. Learning process should be blended. Study programs should be modernized with impact to practical approach and involving active teaching methods. Additional short programs, modules, certification courses should be designed and offered by an institution. What are the challenges of blended learning? Infrastructure, of course, we have nowadays to invest in development of infrastructure such as development of or establishing of libraries online, expansion of server-based purchase of software, licenses. We are requested to develop new study materials in a new form. That all requires staff and students' resistance. And academic staff should be supported by administrative. There should be investments in development of digital skills, both of students and also academic staff. When we are working remotely, we are often working from home, and not all of us are having satisfying working or studying conditions. Difficulty of control, both of academic staff and of students, should be taken into consideration. When students are studying online, it also requires development of new evaluation system. And when we are splitted, when we study remotely, we are much less socialized. Remote studies means global competition for universities. And I think this problem is common also for other participants of today's meeting, but that is what we are experiencing today in Latvia, teachers aging. So we have to develop a strategy how to involve more teachers. And learning are still obvious. So we achieve what we have right now. We achieve globalization. We achieve much wider wider reach. When you're on your own path, you're independent and you can increase your time management skills. You get more concentrated courses. And accordingly, you have much higher achievements. As administrative staff, we better interchangeability study automatized, so that can lead also to a degree of educational process. With wider international cooperation, we increase mobility, also virtual mobility, and we can involve more partners in joint programs. What are the challenges for higher education institutions in Latvia? We are currently passing through reform of higher education, for development of new professional standards, for shortening of educational programs at all levels, for according procedural development of new requirements for academic staff due to quality assurance, due to newly introduced standards. We have a language ban, so I mean, which level starting from secondary education since this year, and since 2019, it is already introduced for higher education. And situation becomes more incomprehensible due to planned military reform. So we plan to introduce compulsory military service. Of course, that will impact process of higher education in Latvia as well. So to conclude, I would like to say that all these processes, both in Latvia, in Ukraine, Uzbekistan, must be taken into consideration. And all of our educational institutions already should seriously rethink our existing approach to education. Learning process, and no doubt, should be blended, taking part both in person and remotely. Study programs should be modernized with impact to a more practical approach and with involvement of active teaching methods. Additional short programs, modules, certification courses should be designed and offered by an institution to satisfy growing demand. Here, I would like to finish my presentation. I hope you find some valuable findings. And thank you, thanks our dear partners, thank you our Ukrainian partners, thank you our Fergana branch. I wish you good luck. I would like to congratulate our Fergana branch with your 5th year anniversary. Thank you very much. And I give the floor to the next participant.
Thank you, Evgenia, for such an inspirational and really valuable article. Definitely, as you said, we have a lot of things to think about and to consider. Our next speaker is Sanaba Ismoilova, specialist of the Department of Science, PhD, within the topic of reforms in the system of higher education of Uzbekistan. Sanaba, you are welcome.
Assalamu alaikum. Good afternoon, dear participants. My presentation is about reform in higher education in Uzbekistan. In the current conditions of intensive changes in all spheres of social and economic life, the need for highly qualified personnel that adopts and adapts the knowledge arises. To give a little bit of background in terms of classification of reforms, I would like to separate them into two parts, the two major groups, namely quantitative and qualitative. Quantitative reforms, modifications that are needed to be done. Consider increase in numbers of universities and enrollment of new undergraduates. Qualitative reforms, on the other hand, include arrangement of full system. As mentioned earlier, quantitative reforms are the first step of educational improvement in our state. Therefore, the primary focus is on the enrollment of undergraduates, with the figure indicating that student enrollment rate with the increase of 19% in 6 years. At the same time, resulting in increasing number of universities from 77 to 141. Another major change that happened in that quota establishment has been derived from governmental responsibility to the private decision of universities based on local labor market demand. To that rates, our state renewed extramural and evening education forms in all higher educational institutions. Among these universities, USA, Great Britain, Japan, Russia, Turkey, Belarus, Latvia, India, and other countries' higher educational institutions have been established in the last 5 years. This establishment contributes to prepare compatible human resource in the world labor market, also bringing new directions to our conventional system. On the basis of new technologies, based on the needs of constantly changing economic sectors and fields, 134 educational courses at the bachelor level, 147 specialists at the master's level were newly established in the last 5 years. Not only does demand for those reforms, but also government support plays a major role. In fact, foreign universities that have their branches in Uzbekistan, they don't require it to pay any taxes. For example, property tax, tax on and any during those 10 years and a point of notice. Government support does not limit to exemptions for example, those less income families was doubled currently. The tuition fee are free from paying tax. Individuals are allocating preferential into account. Moving on the quantitative reforms with the pursuit of being include top 1,000 universities until 2000 has been made primarily focusing on development. Aim is system. The lockdown emphasizes the need for digital data. Today, educational information is a solution to the problem. HEMIS is a international conference. Debates and roundtable discussion will serve to experience exchange. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Sanova. So the next speaker is Roland Abuyos, engineering manager, local core team and the partner of the ISMA, with the topic of remote work management, keeping the flow. Roland, are you here with us remotely? Probably Roland is not here yet, so we continue while we're waiting for Roland with a speaker from Ukraine, the Witch Maria Andrievna. with a Dr. Senior Research Associate Professor, the head of the Department of Quality Assurance and Higher Education, Institute of Higher Education of the NAS Ukraine, within the topic of online learning, advantages and disadvantages. Maria, are you here? Maria probably is also not. So we go further. And the next one is Jala Roman Mikhailovich. Roman, are you here with us? Okay, the topic was informational technology for non-contract inspections of underground pipelines, and colleagues of the Roman Jala are Verbenets Bogdan Yaroslavovich and Rohib Nazar Vasilovich. Maybe some of the colleagues are here. Okay, so the next one from Ukraine and the list is Zabolotny Vladimir and Mislitskaya, and A from Technologies for Organization of Educational Process of Future Teachers in the Conditions of Distance Studying. Roland, maybe you succeeded with joining us? Not yet. Okay, we will go further. If anyone from Ukraine who I am naming is at the moment join the conference, so you're more than welcome to present. And the next one is Krivoruchko Larisa, Doctor of Law, Chief Law Company Krivoruchka. Separate issues of the development of organizational and legal principles of management and modernization of the management system in higher education institutions. Maximenko Yuri Borisovich or Matokniuk Lyudmila Alexandrovna. Not here. Parusov Eduard Vladimirovich. Construction of technologies for manufacturing products of critical products using computer simulation. Not here, right? Maybe Roland join. Victoria, Evgenia Dekter, the presenter number 1, just wrote us a question. It is. Meanwhile, we have a question about HEMIS system. Will it be introduced at all universities?
Thank you for your question. It's the HEMIS is the system which is not for the. This is a system for full higher education system in the whole country. I think since 2020 it was established in Uzbekistan. This is under the project of digital university project. What is the main purpose? The main purpose, I have said, first of all, the how to say, to save time, to save resources, and eliminate human factor, and in one word, to create digital university whole the country. In short, to give possibility what to transformation information, to transfer information. In particular, yes. If any questions, please. You're welcome.
Thank you, dear colleagues, for all the questions and all the answers. I would like to ask if Roland succeeded with joining us. Probably not yet, so we are still in a little waiting process. If you have any questions right now at the moment, you're more than welcome to ask them, as we have plenty of speakers from Ukraine who could join us at the moment, but not because of the all the situation. So there was a question from the auditory to Evgenia Bekler, how the modern trends can be used.
Julia, dear colleagues, thank you very much for your questions. So we have to adapt, as I have said, that we are currently living in a very brittle and fragile world, and still we have internet. Internet is covering our planet, and when we have an opportunity to get it, to use it, so this is also what we can use for development of higher education at large. We can get maximum, higher education universities should get maximum from existing demand. And what is demanded right now? So all processes of education become much faster. And existing demand shows that recent secondary school graduates, they request for higher speed of education. So that means short cycles should be introduced on the basis, of course, on the basis of already existing bachelor programs. Short cycles, modular system, this means certification courses joined under a unique topic, also developed on the basis of existing study programs of bachelor and master level. Internships. So, for example, ISMA is successfully using all these opportunities. We are offering certification courses, language courses, courses for IT specialists, which are giving those who are demanded possibilities to get knowledge in a shorter period of time. Also, we provide internships for our international colleagues. Since the year 2019, we have provided more than 16 international internships. Also in the field of academic staff competency improvement. So we train, thanks to these remote learning possibilities, we train competencies not only of Latvian teaching staff, but also of teaching staff in other countries, such as Ukraine, such as Kazakhstan, such as Moldova and Georgia and other countries as well. And this is what we notice. We have to diversify range of our programs. So what I mean, current higher education institution should not limit itself on academic programs. We have to continue, of course, we have to continue academic program development, but we have to go much further. We have to satisfy all needs of existing stakeholders by offering certification courses, by creation short cycle programs, by creation modular approach, and by providing international exchange. development of a joint diploma, development of double diploma, etc., etc. And what we noticed as well, students become much more independent. They request sometimes they need less socialization. Many of them request education on their own path. So that's why we also have to implement new programs of distant learning, remote learning, by making students possibility to study on their own path. And that leads, of course, to development of infrastructure, as we have to implement our learning materials to make them available for everyone online. I think I have answered to your questions, and I'll be happy to give a floor to other participants if they are here.
Thank you, Evgenia, for your good answer. And thank you, Mikhailo, for encouraging participants from the Ukraine to join the conference to speak with their presentations. So they are more than welcome. And as we see in the list, Ronald Abuyans just joined our conference with a remote work management, keeping the flow. Roland, are you ready? Are you here?
Hello, a pleasure to be with you. Yes, I'm ready to go ahead if you are ready.
Roland, hello, we see you perfectly, so the floor is yours, please proceed.
Can you hear me? Perfect.
Yes, we see you, we see your presentation as well.
Yes.
Very good. So let's start with a good morning for everybody. Greetings, a special greeting to the participants from Ukraine and the presenters from Ukraine. I will start with a bridge between a presentation I've given before in ISMA multiple times, which is workplace experience. That was a part of a very close to my heart subject, which is helping organizations provide the best experience possible to their employees, in the sense where the employees get to feel at home in the office. And we used to do everything we can to help an employee feel comfortable at the office as if they were at home. And from that perspective, get more motivation, more loyalty, because the employees get to feel that we care and we genuinely put the effort to give them what makes them comfortable. In our current circumstances, which I'm gonna go into details a little bit more on, but I'm pretty sure you're very familiar with, remote work is a reality, and it's not something that can be disregarded anymore. With remote work comes the difficulties that if an employee is in the office, you can see what time they came to the office, you can see what time they left the office. With remote work, it's not so easy. Control is dead with remote work. You cannot control people in a remote work environment. My thesis here is that the focus should be shifted from control to actually setting a proper vision and directing managers to help build that motivation to deliver that vision. My name is Roland Abuyunis. I'm a technology and executive coach. I'm your guide to remote work management. If you need my help, I'm available. I'll continue. I see Bodan, you have your hand raised. Do you have a question? Okay, might be still up by mistake. Good. I'll move to the next slide. And feel free to stop me at any point in time. If you have questions, I'm very open to receive them and address them. this can be a conversation if you have questions on the subjects we're talking about. So the workforce population, those are the different generations you can expect, from baby boomers to Gen X, to millennials, to Gen Z. Flashy terms that describe the workforce that we're working with. Baby boomers, we're talking from 1944 till 1964. Kudos to you if you're one of this generation and you're still with us and getting stuff done. That's awesome. Gen X from 1965 to 1979, and then millennials from 1980 till 1994. That's us. We're being blamed for everything crazy that's happening in the workplace. And the next generation, which is the Gen Z, 1995 to 2015. Right? If we look at the workplace statistics as of today, millennials are 35% of the workforce. Gen Z are 13% of the workforce. And by 2025, between Gen Z and millennials, we'll be looking at 75% of the global workforce. So whatever problems we had with the millennials, we can no longer look at them as a problem to be fixed or maybe to be avoided, trying not to recruit people from that generation. Maybe the next generation will be different. We need to accept that this is part of our workforce. This is the majority of our workforce in 2025. As a matter of fact, anybody who's Gen X and boomers will be the minority. We will be the 25%. So we need to look at this generation as our workforce, try to understand how this generation works, how this generation functions, and to adapt our approach to this generation. Current circumstances. Yes, those young people who are joining our organizations, they want to stare at their screens all day and they want to change the world. Adding on top of that, they want to do it from home. As weird as this might sound to people who have been in the workforce for quite a while, it seems to be unrealistic, but also the tools that exist now might make it more realistic. The approaches that we have now might make it more realistic. As you can see, we're having a virtual conference today. We're all in a virtual conference. And I'm pretty sure nobody can come and say, it's useless just because it's remote. It doesn't exist because it's not physical. If we go a little bit back in history, this is a video made by Apple to set the context a little bit more. It's in 1984. It's when Apple came forward and said, I will develop a device and I will release it in 1984. And that device will be the personal computer that people will use in their home. And everybody was looking at Apple like they're crazy. Because what do you mean computer for home? Computers are very expensive. Computers are in workplaces only, and they're only for companies, and they should be controlled by the organization. Now, I'll play this video pretty quick so you get the vibe of what's happening there. If you forget that it's happening in 1984, you'll think it's happening today.
Secure we are one.
On January 24th, Apple Computer will introduce Macintosh, and you'll see why 1984 won't be like 1984.
Okay, I hope you saw the video well. I hope the audio was clear. In all cases, the message that Apple is putting out there, I hope Apple will release the Mac, and you'll see why 1984 won't be like 1984. Practically predicting the future, as some might say, predicting that we're going to an era where the personal computer will be an instrumental device to change. And you can see the new generation coming in, not looking anything like the older generation. It's important for us to adapt and not be that older generation that's not accepting what's coming, rather accept it. And if we look at it, rather than saying Apple predicted the future, I would say Apple had the right vision and the right commitment and put the right energy into it, and they wrote the future. And we are part of writing that future. Otherwise, we wouldn't be here today. I'd pat all of us on the back right now, and I recommend each and every one of us to pat ourselves on the back and remind ourselves that us being here today means we adapted to the new workforce and we made what was considered the future. Now, how do we do that? That sounds like a lot of cool stuff, cool motivation, but how do we do that? How do we make that happen? I'll take the example from Amazon, the 2 pizza team. So if your team cannot be fed with 2 pizzas, your team is too big. That was kind of the sizing approach. Teams should be between 8 and 12 team members, maximum 12 team members. When we go above 8, it's time to start thinking of how to split the team further before the team reaches 12. By the time the team reaches 12, that's the ultimate time for the team to be completely split into 2 teams, and by separating those scopes that the teams are working for. Why is this? The amount of people that one can relate to in a meaningful way is 8 to 12 people. You cannot genuinely care for more than 12 people in a normal scenario. You cannot practically relate to those people and be able to adapt to their work styles. You know from your colleagues that you've worked with each colleague, especially those of us who have been in the workforce for a while, nobody's evil. It's just that people process information differently. And unless we adapt our communication to one person and the other, we will have clashes in the work. That being said, successful managers know how to adapt that communication, but put a successful manager with a team of 30 people, and they won't have time to learn about each person, to learn each person's motivation, their communication style, and build that solid relationship with them. And I highlight here long-lasting teams, because for a team to build that social bond first, then start delivering, it takes a serious amount of time. And if that team built that bond, it is almost criminal to come and split that team, right? So whenever a team starts growing above 8, you start working on a separation, on building a new team next to it. That being said, it's important to focus on servant leadership when we're talking about people management. So as a manager of my team, it's my job to genuinely look at what problems my team has and make it my job to find solutions. So when I assign a manager to a team, if I keep the team between 8 and 12, and I have to highlight, it might be obvious, but I have to highlight it. It doesn't mean we keep the team at 8 people and then we assign one manager to 2 teams. That doesn't work. One manager, one team. So it's important for the manager to have on the top of his agenda recurrent meetings with all team members once every 2 weeks at least. So a one-on-one meeting with each team member one time every 2 weeks. That means if you have a team of 12 people and you don't want to book meetings on Friday, you've already booked all of your working days with meetings, right? So you try to keep the team as small as you can and you book one-on-one per day. Reasonably speaking, you have 8 days, so practically 8 team members, 8 days if we're taking out Fridays, right? And if you include Fridays for meetings, that's also an additional 2, so the maximum could be 10 team members. And why do I say 1 meeting per day, one one-on-one per day? Because it's your job to follow up on the findings you find in those meetings. So one one-on-one with 1 person per day, and then you follow up for the rest of the day to address whatever you uncovered in that meeting, or to follow up on things that you uncovered the day before that needs follow-up. And it's important for the manager to communicate upwards. So whatever you conclude in your conversations with your team, there might be information that's important to pass upwards to your managers, or it's important also to communicate across the team some things that need to be shared. So what do we do in those one-on-ones? Update on direction so that each person knows where we're going as an organization. Follow up on motivation, because the motivation is that fuel that that rocket is flying with. So yes, you pointed the rocket where you want it to go. We want to go to the moon. I pointed it to the moon, but then I don't have fuel, or I don't have enough fuel. That motivation is the fuel. And two-way feedback is very important. And it's very important not to be judgmental in two-way feedback, because if there are any problems, especially that your main focus as a manager is not to do everything better than everybody else because you won't, unless if you make sure everybody else is doing a horrible job, then you could, but that's not the target. So the important is to listen to people who actually have the time to do the job. If you still want to do the job yourself, if you still want to micromanage the job yourself, don't be a manager, take a step down, be the specialist, do the job. Allow somebody else to be a manager, allow somebody else to serve you and unblock you where necessary. So update on direction, follow up on motivation, and two-way feedback. I'm gonna detail a little bit more what I'm talking about here. There's always in every organization a guiding star. That guiding star is your mission, what your organization should achieve, right? Now, if the organization should achieve some very big target that people cannot relate to on details level, the recommendation is to have more smaller missions that are also there and also communicated, a mission for this year. And then from there, we go on. So the mission is very important, and it's very important that it's communicated. It's very important that it's tangible. But what do we do to get that done? We make sure that our mission is within our vision. So if I cannot see how the workplace is gonna be next year because of COVID, because of the war, because of what's happening, I don't go making missions that are outside my vision, right? I see where I want to go, and that's how I plan the next step. Company strategy is built based on that vision. So I make a strategy how to get to where I want to get. And if I cannot perceive that mission, if I cannot see how to build my strategy to reach that mission, there's no use of calling it a mission, right? There's no use of pushing it down the line, informing people about it if they cannot see how to get there. So the strategy of how to get there, imagine it like a mountain you want to reach. You know that mountain is there. You can see to a certain extent how you're going to get there in the far distance. Then you go building a strategy how to get there. Yes, there might be dark times where you're down in a valley and then climbing back on a mountain, but at least you know in which direction you need to go. And that's why that star should always be there. Then company yearly targets. Company yearly targets, all of those are put in a pyramid so that we know that they're aligned with each other, right? So that they're one projecting the other, projecting the other. Company yearly targets should be communicated across the whole organization as a proposal. Next step, we go to company quarterly OKRs. OKRs are objective key results. So practically I have a target for the year, but then I come and agree with all directors or all managers in the organization, what are the objectives that we want to reach and how do we check if we reach them? Where are we today? How we measured where we are today? Where are we going to be at the end of the quarter? What success means? Kind of people should be able to look and see clearly, did I meet that target or not? Those shouldn't be ambiguous. Now, once OKRs are there for the company, the teams should go look at those OKRs and put targets for themselves, measurable targets for themselves that do connect to those company OKRs. So when an individual sets a target for their team, that target should be directly connected to the company OKRs. Now we should trust the teams on the long term when they come and say, this will help reach that target, even if as management, we don't see that. And if we don't trust that person, they shouldn't be on our team. So don't recruit people you don't trust just because they're the only people you can get, and then don't trust them and follow up and micromanage. Rather, only recruit people that you can trust, even if that's going to take more time. And then you can trust them to set those targets, and those targets should be able to be linked to the company quarterly targets. That being done, then individual quarterly targets. What does that mean? As a team manager, I come and talk to my team members 1 month before the end of the quarter, and we agree what that team member is gonna set his focus. What are the targets he's gonna achieve in this quarter? Those targets should also link back to the quarterly OKR of the organization and to his team's OKRs, to be more specific. But as a manager, 1 month before the end of the quarter, I start discussing with that team member. Ideally, if that team member is senior enough, I ask them to set their own target, and I don't question. If they set their target and their target seems reasonable.
Roland, I'm very sorry to interrupt you with your very interesting presentation, really, but we have 2 more minutes. Can you fit in?
Yes.
To be tight on schedule. Thank you.
We can. They set their target, and based on that target, we accept the target and move on. Next step is every 2 weeks, when you're talking to individuals, you check what they're planning to deliver for the next 2 weeks and what they've delivered for the last 2 weeks. Now, as I say here, energy goes both ways. It's important to know that whatever we defined is going to go all the way down to the individuals, and then we're going to go back up and double check all the assumptions we made across the organization. That's why this process starts 1 month before the end of the quarter, so that at the end of the quarter, we would have had the time to communicate all the way down and then review all the way up to make sure it's aligned both ways. Now, next, it's very important to deliver alignment, to do delivery alignment. What does that mean? When I meet with those individuals on the one-on-ones, and everything I'm communicating now could happen within those one-on-ones. I come to that meeting, I review the quarterly targets, I ask them what they worked on last 2 weeks, what they want to do for the next 2 weeks, and then I ask them to give me feedback on other colleagues who have been instrumental to their success in the past 2 weeks. It's very important because that's going to come in their performance review. The next thing I do in the one-on-one is a strategy called rose, thorn, bud. What does that mean? That means that the individual communicates what are things that are roses for them, which is things that increase their motivation, what are things that decrease their motivation, and what are things that they're anxious about, be it excited or worried about. That being said, it's very important to highlight that in those meetings, we shouldn't reschedule those meetings because it makes people feel like they're not important. We should not engage in gossip. If somebody's talking about something about another person, we do not agree to what they're saying. Rather, we recommend we sit in one meeting room, all 3 of us, and communicate all together. We do not lecture them in that meeting. It's not a lecture, it's a one-on-one where they get to share feedback, and we do not retaliate if they give us feedback that we're not happy with. It's very important to keep getting that feedback. People managers are servant leaders. One thing to be asserted, even if it's just a gut feeling, they should be able to share it. They don't need to wait until it's something they can prove, because sometimes it would be too late. Ask frequently, what can you help your team with? What can you do that would make life easier for them? Performance evaluation, which is my last slide, I believe. It's almost last slide. So the focus here, I put the diagram of how the air moves, how wind is generated. It always moves from high pressure environment to low pressure environment. So does everything else in nature. So meet the market salary levels or accept working with mediocre people. If you do not, if pressure in your organization is much higher than out there in the market, the good people will leave. You'll end up with people who don't have another place to go. Evaluate performance every month. Do not wait until the end of the year to do performance evaluation, because your judgment will be based on the last information you have last few weeks. And then provide salary changes every quarter. I'm not saying major changes. If you want to give a salary increase end of the year, split it into 4 quarters based on the performance reviews that you've done every month. That being said, adaptability is survival. With the right team, the right vision and motivation, we can thrive. We don't just survive. Thank you, everyone. Are there any questions?
Thank you, Ron. Thank you for your presentation. If I haven't noticed any questions, maybe they will come eventually a little later on. But what I've noticed that there is Shunevich Bogdan Ivanovich, Doctor of Pedagogics, Professor of the Department of Foreign Languages at the Lviv National Environmental University, with the topic of modern selection of educational materials for students of Ukrainian higher school. Said that he was ready to present.
Okay, I am ready to make my report. Thank you. So now I'm going to add my presentation. Just a minute. Share screen, maybe. Presentation. Here it is. Okay, can you see my presentation? Can't you? Oh, ladies and gentlemen.
Yes, that's right.
Okay, thank you. So what about, let's start from the very beginning. So I didn't know that I have to do my presentation in English. That's why I have done it in Ukrainian. So as I understood, there are no translators or interpreters at your conference. That's why I'm going to show my Ukrainian presentation, my slides in Ukrainian, but I'll try to comment them in English, okay?
Okay.
Why not? So, as it was said that my presentation is about modern selection of educational materials for students of higher educational institutions. Presenters are Bogdan Shunevich, me, and my colleague from Lviv Polytechnic National University, Natalia Rak. It's an idea of both of us about making such a presentation. That's why let's start. Okay, next slide. I'm going to talk about the main educational materials. I mean, published and electronic educational textbooks, courses of lectures, distance courses, and other materials that usually lecturers, instructors prepare before having their lectures and delivering their lectures and having their practical classes. And additional, which additional educational materials do I mean? Because they are not usually used in those list of educational materials that lecturers and instructors propose. I mean, they are as follows. Massive open online courses and the YouTube channels materials from those channels. I mean YouTube ones. So one more slide. I'm going to talk about my colleagues, students from Lviv Polytechnic National University and my university, I mean Lviv National and Environmental University. And I will talk in my report about Ukrainian platforms. I mean Prometheus, maybe someone know about such a platform of online courses, and lingua skills. There are online courses for those who wants to study English, and now they are going to prepare online courses for those that study Ukrainian, German, and other languages. And foreign platform, here I will mention only Coursera. So what about the goal of my report? So to describe the prospects of usage by students by the educational materials from Ukrainian and foreign platforms of massive online courses, massive open online courses, so MOOC, you know, such an abbreviation, and additional materials that which I have mentioned in from my when we are looking at the previous slides. And the aim is the only one, to give the possibilities for our students to study better, to have a possibility to study better the subject that they have. In this case, I'm talking only about students, first year students of Lviv Polytechnic and our university. And also I'm going like to present how to organize scientific work of students on the base of their experience, not mine, but their students' experience and prospects of usage modern additional educational materials in educational process. And one more purpose is to how I give a possibility for my students to change their experience in the usage of such educational materials. I mean online courses from the above mentioned platforms, Ukrainian and American. So as you understood, so that I propose my students to take part in compiling all those materials that I'm going to propose them during our practical classes, because I have only practical classes. One more purpose, as I mentioned, that I'm going to show how we can propose our students to take part, to participate in scientific work, how to help them in this sphere. I know about such students because many of them have told that they used different distance courses, different online courses from Ukrainian and foreign platforms. And I decided why not, I'd like to help them to continue to, because they have done it, they used these materials when they studied at secondary schools. And now I'd like to help them to use those materials at our university and at our both universities as well. One more purpose is achieved to help them in the creating the abstracts for different articles, scientific articles. So they have to take part, participate in different conferences, first of all, students ones, and in conferences such as this one, why not? The idea of such using students' knowledge about educational materials I have taken from my when I participated at one of the world conferences on distance learning. because my doctoral thesis was devoted to implemented distance learning courses at higher educational institutions. And at one of such conferences, one of students took part at our world conference that where usually make reports professors, lecturers, instructors, and there was one student as well, and he was at my session because I was proposed to be the head of a sectional section, and this guy, this student of one of Asian universities, was at my make report at my session. So I proposed my students to make their reports using such a traditional parts of a report. I mean, introduction. They have to write the goal and tasks of the research, and they are traditional. Yeah, they are used in all theses, all articles, and the one at the very end, I mean, conclusions. And then I propose them to give a list of subjects that they have during their studying the first year, during the first year of studying. So they usually have from 12 to 15 subjects to study during studying the first year of studying. And then I propose them to describe how many different are they or they are not. I mean, different electronical and educational distance courses and other electronic and printed materials from these disciplines that they have to study at the university. Then I propose them to look through, first of all, Ukrainian platforms of online courses. I mentioned two of them. I mean, Prometheus and Lingua Skills, and some of them also use, they have possibility, or they studied, they used such materials, education materials from platform, American platform Coursera. So they have to look through those platforms and try to find those materials that they need to study the subject they have during their first year studying. And not only online courses, but other materials, for example, YouTube channels. They have found many, and even they use those material during when they studied at secondary schools, or use there at the very beginning of studying at our university. I mean, Lviv Polytechnic and my university. And then they have to analyze the courses that they have found in these platforms, and to propose for their colleagues, I mean the same students from other universities, because they usually make reports at students' international conferences and Ukrainian ones. And it's interesting for them to show that they use such materials, and they propose to do the same, to study, to use those materials for students from other universities. Why not? And I also propose so as I've said, I propose to do such thesis, to take part in scientific work, students' scientific work, not only those students that have already used those materials in the secondary schools and universities, but also those students who would like to use such education materials in the process of their learning at this university. So they analyze the courses that they have found in platforms, the above-mentioned platforms. And I even asked instructors, lecturers who had classes in these groups, so maybe it would be fine to use these materials and propose those materials only, not only for the students that have already used them, but for the rest students. Why not? That's why we have an interesting process of use additional materials and to widen the possibilities of lecturers, instructors to use the materials in their practice. And at the very end, in the conclusions, they usually, now I'm talking about the thesis, not thesis, but abstracts, yeah, and the articles. I propose them to do conclusions such they would like, and among them there are conclusions that it would be good to use these materials by the instructors, professors in their work as well. Why not? It's great. So what else I'd like to tell? And what about here? I mentioned I have already mentioned universities that try to use such my colleagues' proposal. And at the Lviv Polytechnic National Universities, there were students specializing in psychology and intellectual information technologies. And from my university, I mean Lviv National Environmental University, there were students who are specializing in, will be futures, in near future, they will be specialists in automobile transport, agronomy, and other specialties. So, as I said, that those students only make their reports at the conference, but I propose the departments where they study, for example, the Department of Automobile Transport, that, hey guys, I mean professors and lecturers, so why not to use these materials that were proposed by our students? And there are many interesting materials as well. And as I've said, I mainly was talking about online courses, but there are many educational materials in YouTube channels. That's why after the reports of my students at the conference in our university and in other conferences, for example, in Poltava, where they will make their reports in the middle of December this year. So they will propose students of other universities to use such materials as well. So what about conclusions? The themes of investigation that I propose those students, and they have done this investigation, and they found many interesting modern electronic educational materials, as I mentioned, from platforms and YouTube channels, and those materials I usually not they propose to the lecturers and instructors from those departments where these students study. And the reports of students at our Students' International Conference that are held in our university and other universities students and lecturers, professors of other universities usually put many questions to those reporters because it means for me that the theme of their investigations is actual, and it's great, isn't it? And what about my future goals to what my students will investigate in near future? As I've mentioned, only first-year students took part in these investigations that I mentioned. But now, this year, for example, I'm also going to widen the quantity of those students, and they will be second-year students, third and fourth-year students. Why not? That's all. Thank you. Any questions?
Thank you, Bogdan. Thank you for your interesting presentation and for your research. Are there any questions? At the moment, I don't see any questions. So if you have any, you're welcome. That's the last call for the question. But what I would like to add from my side, that all the presentations, I believe that everyone will agree with me, were extremely valuable. And I've seen in a small connection between all of them, all the speakers were really speaking about interesting challenges and trends, about the changing world, about the adaptability to all the changes that world can bring us in order to go for a highest quality in all we do. So thank you. Thank you all the participants. Thank you all the speakers and all the guests of the conference who joined us here on place in Fergana and remotely. And I really truly hope that this first conference held here in ISMA Fergana branch will establish a great tradition, and we will meet everyone here every year. Thank you so much for participation, everyone.
Thank you.
So,
Thank you very much.
Now, now I would like to invite everyone who is here in Fergana for a coffee break, and I would like to wish all the remote participants nice week and fruitful week and good continuation of the day. Thank you.